Hi, I'm Michael Skye with VisionForce, and I work with visionary entrepreneurs around the world, social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who are taking a stand to make the world a better place. We do transformational leadership trainings, helping people find deeper access to courage, compassion, and vision so that they can be the change in the world.
I'm Michael Richards. Spent a lifetime as a visionary entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Sustainable Ecological Economic Development, where we gather alliances of other people that are working to build new economies, literally from the ground up. Working with organizations like community-supported agriculture and other farmers that are working from the perspective of sustainable stewardship of the land. And then I also work with a business that we develop products that are produced from soybean oil, so that takes me all over the world working with companies and organizations that are working with economies based on bio-based or sustainable products.
Great. Yeah, well, we can carry on until now. Yeah. That's a button for here in Cedar Rapids. Static. That's really interesting. Well, now it is, right? the challenge that I see is that we always look to the federal government, state government, whenever there's problems, to throw more money in, whether it be a natural disaster or the complete financial meltdown, economic disaster, just throw more money at it. But it doesn't. Problems don't get solved. Problems get solved by people who gather together and figure out new ways that are different than the methods that were being used to cause the problem. And like you went to that seminar last night, it's easy to say that a flood is an act of God. Obviously nature provides the rain, but really it's the last 150 years of human practice of how we manage the land and the water that left the circumstance for a flood that scaled from going to a city.
All right, so Michael, what do you guys see as the main issue in Cedar Rapids today, given the last couple of months and the circumstances?
Right. Well, I think most people with the mass media, it's a fairly well-known fact that we've got a flood that crested at 31 feet. And I met with the state archaeologist, and he said all of the archaeological evidence demonstrated there had not been water that rose this high in the last 7,500 years. In fact, there was no record of any archaeological record of water ever being this high. So there's just an unprecedented disaster. So it's really looking at creative ways to two things: to rebuild a community that has had 18,900 people forced out of their homes and 800 businesses forced out of business. How to rebuild?
You said it was partly that high because of the farming, though, right?
Right. It's really about our land stewardship practices over 150 years, because we started, really it all accelerated about 80 years ago when trying to gain the maximum production, and in really only a two-crop system with only corn and soybeans, whereas the native flora of Iowa is about 2,000 plants, grow out in the native prairies. And native prairies, the plants go down 12, 13 feet, aerate the soil, stabilize the soil, and those roots pull the water up and put it out into the atmosphere very gradually. But about 80 years ago, we started tiling farm fields. That's where you actually make the water that would normally be going down into the ground, actually you capture it and send it right into the streams. So there's this man-made structure that literally covers our entire state, that so farmland has really become almost like a flat parking lot, and then all these pipes that send all the water directly into the streams. And we've had some major floods in the past. 1993 was a large one, but nothing ever came to the scale of this.
And what are the principles that cause this? Is there an ideology, a mentality that led up to this?
Well, I mentioned that I founded Sustainable Ecological Economic Development because economic development and sustainable ecology are not separate. It's just a shift in the way of thinking, because our economics for the past 80 or 90 years have all been about the short-term immediate profit, how much you can make fast. And the sustainable part of that is you can't continue producing a growing economy unless you're also honoring and protecting the base resources that produce that. And so we've had 80 years of a very short-range thinking as far as how farming operates. You know, we deplete 10 or 12 feet of topsoil every year.
Can you show some examples of where that's occurring today?
The entire state. Yeah, Michael's here more for the solutions. I grew up in Iowa farmland.
I'm from Austin, so I'm kind of almost as new as you to Cedar Rapids.
All right, gotcha.
But Michael and I are visionary allies, so as we started looking at how to rebuild and come up with sustainable solutions to a disaster that came out of non-sustainable economics, that requires new ways of thinking, and that's what we're working on together. And Michael can speak to that a lot, you know. But we actually worked on a book all day yesterday that talks about making these shifts, and that's what Michael can really speak to.
Partly what we're doing is looking at Cedar Rapids as a metaphor for impending economic crisis and other crises around the world, and looking at how people are coming together here and rebuilding here, and how can we lay a foundation and provide tools and resources for people if and when the U.S. economy collapses. You know, we were on the brink of that last week before the federal government got involved and promised a $1 trillion bailout. So, but literally, you know, we almost got shot back to Depression days just last week. And then what would happen? You know, and a lot of people who right now are they view power from the top down. So if they want to make change, environmental change or whatever, they're looking for the government to pass laws and regulations to provide funding. But the government itself is in a place where it's not very sustainable. So we're inviting people to look within, look to their community, look to their neighbors, and rebuild their own power structure. You know, rebuild even their local economy, their how they trade, how they build wealth.
And there are about 10% of Iowa farmers that are making very positive stewardship decisions without any direction from the federal or state government. They just know they have to protect their land for the next generation. So they're putting in buffer zones with switchgrass and taking it back to some of the native berry grasses and poplar trees, and you know, all this because you need a balance of land use for to be able to maintain the usability of that land generation to generation. And without change, we've only got one generation left, you know, before we really deplete the whole system.